Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock. Welcome to Giant TV. I'm the founder and president of Giant Jacks Media. We're helping others to grow and nurture their businesses. Actually, this is us here in Southern California, Orange County, and really excited for this episode. My business, I get connected to some great people, entrepreneurs doing amazing things, and Paula is certainly one of them. Paula, you got a lot going on. I was looking at your profile, and you and I were chatting beforehand. You're ICF certified coach, certified executive leader through Georgetown. You've got a master's degree. You've got an amazing background. I want to get into what you're doing, but welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So let's get into this. So tell me and our listeners, what are you doing now, and how did you get into what you're doing?
Well, what I'm doing now, I founded and president and principal coach,
Yep.
lots of hats, of the Leadership Institute of Virginia, also known as LIVE, because that's kind of a long name, but I love
Yeah.
that. I love the acronym LIVE. And what we do here, we do leadership coaching, team coaching, group coaching, and organizational culture coaching. So we do a lot of, various coaching. We do facilitation. We do retreats. Um, so a lot of things that have to do with, helping individuals and organizations grow and prosper.
Who's we, Paula? When you say we, who's it? Do you have a team?
How I work, and lots of, for example, I'll give you an example. Just signed a
Yeah.
contract with aerospace engineering firm, and we'll be doing their group coaching and individual coaching. So because I went to Georgetown University and I have other certifications, so I have many networks that I belong to. So I just put out in the Georgetown network what coaches I'm looking for, and people apply. So
Nice.
people who's I know their education, I know, I already know, they're partly vetted. And then I, interview them, and I get a cadre of coaches together that best meets the client we're serving, meets their needs.
Yeah, I've heard of Georgetown. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of that, big university along the river. It's beautiful, actually.
Oh, yeah. And so you're going into businesses you're working with. Are they, medium-sized businesses, Fortune 500s? And yeah, how does that look?
Well, so I tend to work probably with, mid-sized companies or divisions of larger companies. So,
Yep.
so far that's kind of, where my sweet spot has been. Um, so yeah, so right around anywhere between, trying to think of like anywhere from 200 people to about 1,500 people
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
that realm, and all kinds. So technology, obviously engineering, manufacturing, services, government, not-for-profit. So yeah, so
Yeah.
lots of different industries.
Yeah, I got some variety there. And is there a common thread that is woven through the help you're delivering to companies? I mean, are th certain things popping up all the time, or what causes them to want to work with you? What is the challenge or the opportunity they're dealing with? I'm curious.
That's actually a great question. So right, because people call in. Well, there's two reasons why people call in a coaching company. One, they are experiencing a pain point.
Hmm.
They're noticing, I'll give you an example. A company called me in because they were noticing their organizational culture was sort of adrift, sort of negativity, silos, things like that. And they were noticing they weren't really working and collaborating the best they could.
Hmm.
So, went in there and did an organizational culture transformational project,
Hmm.
because and then so they improved, silos decreased, the senior leadership team was more worked like an actual team as opposed to promoting the silos. And so that type of a thing, getting people ready, identifying, their people that they want to be involved in succession planning, and wanting them, which is lovely, I just
Yep.
stop and pause there, which is lovely that they want them to really learn and grow their leadership skills as opposed to just, um, putting somebody who's technically outstanding into a leadership role without any leadership coaching, without any training whatsoever. So I think companies are recognizing today that that's really important, that they have some leadership coaching. So when they become leaders themselves, they can do the best job, possible, and then continue on in coaching.
Oh, this is when you're working with somebody who, when you said succession planning, so they've
Mhm.
identified maybe key management to take over leadership
Yeah,
roles, and you get involved there because, like you said, there's a could be a separation there between what they were doing and have being a leader, and
exactly.
they need help. Yeah, yeah,
They have all the technical skills. They've been a star performer in that arena, but technical skills and leadership skills are two different things.
yeah, for
They
sure.
simply are two different things. And I've worked with independent contributors that were promoted to a leadership role, and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Like, this is a completely different skill set, and it simply is. And so lots of companies are really understanding that when they want to promote someone, they really need to get them the type of support and vertical development to be able to be in that space well.
yeah,
And then lastly, I'll just say a lot of companies are simply recognizing the value of coaching, the value coaching adds to, so there a lot of companies now are just offering coaching to sections of their organization. And
hmm,
what's interesting is that they're going deeper and deeper into the organization. At one point it was, oh, C-suite. Now it's like, oh, director level, manager level. Oh, wait a minute. What about these individual contributors that we have in the pipeline to become managers? So I'm noticing that trend, which is also lovely.
yeah. How do you deal with that? The culture you mentioned, that's always an interesting one to me because
Mm,
you get a toxic culture. It's horrible. People don't like working there. I just know it impacts every aspect of the business.
it
And
does. Yep.
so, yeah, when you go in there and there's a broken culture, I mean, you've got to be dealing with emotions and people who may be frustrated, pissed off. I mean, what with your
Yes,
personality?
yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah, I mean, how do you deal with that? Do you go in just with initially listening and kind of absorbing people's stuff? I mean, how do you make that happen?
That's another good question. Wow, you're on fire, Paul. It's really kind of outlined on my website. So, but we go in and of course we're usually hired by the senior leadership team. That's how we usually get hired because they're understanding there's something amiss.
Yeah.
And the first thing that we do is we do an assessment. And the assessment usually involves everybody in the organization. There are,
Mm.
really simple, easy assessments to get everybody's perspective in a confidential manner. And so we're collecting, data
Oh, so they're writing stuff, so they can just be honest and not get called
on
out
it
if they're
and not
talking
get called
smack.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And it's, lots of it is multiple choice. And then so we're just getting some data. And then we do, lots of interviews and focus groups. Because if you
Hmm.
take just the perspective of the senior leadership team, they're looking at it from their high up perspective. But
Yeah.
to really understand the culture, you need to speak to all layers of the organization because all layers of the organization are going to have different perspectives. So, once you do your data collection via assessment, focus groups, interviews, you compile that information and then we present it. Here are our findings.
Hmm.
Here are our, the items that we think are really important to focus on. Does that resonate with you? How are
Yeah.
you understanding that? And so then it kind of goes into developing a plan about how to address it. And that could look a little bit differently for each organization
Yeah.
based on what the findings are. But oftentimes it involves coaching the senior leadership team, both individually and as a team. And developing what's called a culture advisor network, which is a group of individuals across all sections of the organization, all layers of the organization to
Yeah.
help advise and collect information, distribute information, um, and and then group coaching. So the plan, it's hard to like say, well, here's then what we do because the
Yeah.
plan is based on the objective findings.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tailored. Yeah.
Oftentimes, individual coaching, team coaching, group coaching, reassess how are we doing, um, developing work groups within the organizations because we're only there for a period of time.
Yeah.
It's up to to help the organization create their own method forward.
Yeah,
And
I was not going to say that. You can't go in and do a quick hit and then walk away and then expect
no,
everything to be, hunky dory
no.
forever. There's got to be an execution of something going forward, right?
Exactly. So that's, really part of what we do is to help the organization develop the ways and means to move themselves forward
Yeah.
because we're there for maybe a year, but a
Uh,
true,
uh,
organization culture transformation, 2, 3 years. It's
yeah.
not because, there's a lot of people, a lot of beliefs, a lot of change management that has to occur.
Yeah, humans. You're dealing with humans and human
Exactly.
emotion, Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
humans, as we know, are complex,
Yeah. Yeah.
complex. And then you
Yeah.
put individuals in a team, even more complex.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, you're very entrepreneurial, Paula. How have you always had that personality? Or how did you get into doing this? I mean, because not everybody can do it. I mean, I always think what you're doing, really a small fraction of people that can do it. What about you, made you get into this?
Well, this is actually my third career. So my first career, I'm a licensed therapist as well. So my first career was as a therapist, and I directed programs. I taught at the university level. So, but always it was, in service of, and
Yeah.
it was a really purposeful career for me, and I really enjoyed it. And then became a wife and a mother.
Hmm.
And I decided I wanted to do something a little bit lighter. And so I went into a completely different industry, and people are like, how did you make that transition into design? And I'm like, well, my mother was an interior decorator. So
Oh,
it wasn't
okay.
that big of a leap for me because I
Yeah.
grew up with it. So I moved, I went back to school because I'm one of those, I just get the information. And I just started as a side hustle to being a mom, working in design. So I did interior design, I did, furnishing design. It was, but what I found, Paul, is that it didn't fulfill my purpose. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to be light and fun. And,
It's,
when something doesn't fulfill your purpose, but my big line from that career is I probably did more therapy in that career than I did as a therapist. A lot of couples therapy,
yeah.
doing that. But and then in that career, I started hearing people having difficulties with, client relations and managing their
Mhm.
staff. And I'm like, well, I could help with this because I have, this skill set of
Yeah.
being a therapist. So I developed some seminars and I was taken on tour by a wonderful company whose, president was brilliant in this area, actually. And then people started asking me to coach them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, refound
Yeah.
my purpose.
Oh, that's cool.
So again, I roll, go back to school once again, go to Georgetown, and I've been coaching since 2016.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I mean, there's so much going on there. We could talk forever. I want to tell people listening here too, because we stream this everywhere, wherever you're watching it. Maybe it's up here, down below. I'm going to have Paul's information there. Make sure to get connected
Hmm.
with her. And Paula, do you have sort of a, excuse me, introductory session you do with folks, if they
I
want to talk
do.
to you? Yeah.
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah, so right on my website, on literally every page, there's a link to schedule a complimentary appointment with me, and it's an introduction to coaching. What is coaching? How can
Yeah.
it help me? Here are some issues that I'm dealing with. How would we work together? And that's a complimentary session because I think it's a meet and greet.
You
Um,
Zoom that typically?
yes,
Yeah.
it's all virtual, and I mean I've had people from all over the United States, Canada, England, so
Yeah.
we just find a time that works for that. And I've worked with people all over, so we just find a time
Yeah.
to make it
Yeah.
work.
No,
Mhm.
great. Great. We'll put up your website up there too.
Okay.
Fantastic, Paula. Thanks so much for being on here. I'd love to track your progress and stay connected. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for
Thank
joining.
you. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. All right.